Did you ever see a gun that just looks like trouble? You know the type. Promising big power at a budget price, only to leave you jamming, swearing, and wondering why you didn't just spend a little more. Some guns aren't just bad, they're cautionary tales. Today, we're breaking down the worst-rated firearms that even seasoned shooters wouldn't touch. Starting with a few infamous names that left users shaking their heads and sometimes shaking out jammed rounds. Let's jump in. 1. Hi-Point C9. You've probably seen this one in pawn shops or budget gun lists. The Hi-Point C9 is like that loud car with a broken muffler. It grabs your attention for all the wrong reasons. It's bulky, awkward, and jams like it's allergic to ammunition. People say the slide feels like it was milled with a hammer and chisel. Sure, it's cheap, but when your life might depend on it, is that really where you want to cut corners? 2. Remington R51 Gen 1. This one came with a ton of hype. A modern update to a classic design. Sounds promising, right? But as soon as buyers got their hands on it, the complaints rolled in. Failure to feed, misfires, and recoil that felt way too aggressive for its size. It got so bad that Remington had to pull the whole thing and rework it. But by then, the damage was done and trust was gone. 3. Taurus PT-22. At first glance, it looks cute. A tiny .22 pistol that feels like it was made for pocket carry. But don't let the looks fool you. This little guy has a serious reliability problem. Misfeeds, poor extraction, and ammo pickiness are so bad that it's practically allergic to anything that's not high-end. One user joked it's more useful as a paperweight than for self-defense, and honestly, they might not be wrong. 4. Cobra M11-9. You've seen this thing in old-school action flicks. It looks cool, it sounds cool, but in reality, it's all smoke and no fire. With a laughable trigger and accuracy that feels like you're throwing bullets with your hands, the Cobra M11-9 is more gimmick than a gun. It's the kind of firearm that makes you appreciate the phrase, "looks can be deceiving." And that's just the beginning. These 4 are some of the most talked about letdowns in the firearm world, but trust me, it only gets worse from here. Would you risk carrying any of these? Or do you think some of them get an unfair rap? And make sure you stick around, because the next gun on this list, you won't believe how they got it. 5. Jennings J22. This little pocket pistol has a reputation that's anything but flattering. Nicknamed the Saturday Night Special, the Jennings J22 is known less for defending lives and more for ruining afternoons at the range. It jams frequently, firing pins have a habit of snapping like twigs, and its overall build quality is just sad. Some places have outright banned it, and honestly, that might be doing everyone a favor. 6. Remington 710. Imagine trying to fill the shoes of a legend and ending up with punchlines, as has always been the storyline behind the Remington 710. It came after the epic-making 700, a rifle that has earned more than just a little trust among generations of hunters, sportsmen, and police forces. Unfortunately, rather than building on that legacy, the 710 disappointed right out of the gate. First off, it came with all sorts of flaws associated with poor machining that left a rough and awkward feel to so many parts. The synthetic stock felt flimsy in the hands, poorly conveying that sense of solid reliability expected from a bolt-action rifle. Even worse were horror stories about catastrophic bolt failure, something a gun is never forgiven for. Some owners even characterized it as feeling unfinished, as if it had skipped the last stages of quality control altogether. It was supposed to supersede the 700 at a similar cost, but ended up a story about a penny pincher. The Remington 710 simply could not hold to expectations and scarcely held to its very name. 7. Smith & Wesson Sigma Series. Even when die-hard Smith & Wesson fans cringe, you know something's off. The Sigma series has one of the worst trigger pulls out there. Stiff, gritty, and unforgiving. Accuracy? Let's just say it won't win you any range competitions. And on top of all that, it ran into legal trouble with Glock for copying their design. It's affordable, sure, but not everything cheap is worth buying. 8. Kel-Tec P11. This one's frustrating because it wants to be a solid concealed carry option. Small, lightweight, and chambered in 9mm, it checks a lot of boxes, but then you pull the trigger, and keep pulling, and pulling. The reset feels like it's in another zip code, and the accuracy is all over the place. For a self-defense pistol, you want reliability. the Cal-Tech P11 just doesn't deliver. 9. Taurus Judge Public Defender Polymer. Out of all of them, this is the one that is the most stylish. A revolver that fires both 410 shotgun shells and a .45 Colt? That just reads badass. Combining a shotgun and a revolver in one compact package sure sounds like something from an action hero's arsenal. It looks menacing, feels heavy in the hand, and surely draws attention to the range. But what about in practice? Not so much. With that short barrel, you sacrifice the power and accuracy. The cool factor goes away when you realize just how inconsistent it is. Shot placement becomes a little bit of a gamble, and the spread of the 410 shell never really makes up for any precision that you might need. Loading is slower, and the recoil, while rather light, feels awkward compared to the better balanced handguns. It sure would look cool in the films, but anyone who has used one would call it more bark than bite. Just another gonzo oddball of a novelty, not much good for a bona fide everyday carry. 10. Winchester 1300 Defender, post-2006 models. Before 2006, the Winchester 1300 Defender was a reliable, well-respected shotgun. But after FN stopped making them, the quality nosedived. Later models became known for loose tolerances, rattling components, and poor durability. Users reported parts wearing down much faster, giving the gun a shaky, cheap feel. What was once a solid pump-action choice became something you wouldn't trust beyond a few seasons of light use. We've seen some real letdowns so far, but the next batch of firearms takes disappointment to a whole new level. Whether it's poor design, cheap parts, or just plain bad decisions, these guns prove that not everything that goes bang is worth owning. Let's dive into the final stretch. 11. Desert Eagle 50 AE for practical use. Let's be real, the Desert Eagle 50 AE is a beast, but not in a practical sense. It's massive, unwieldy, and kicks like it's trying to leave your hand. Sure, it looks incredible in movies and on posters, but good luck finding a holster that doesn't feel like a backpack. It's a range toy or showpiece, not something you're bringing to a self-defense scenario. Iconic? Yes. Functional? Not really. 12. Jimenez Arms JA380. If there's a poster child for avoid this at all costs, it might be the JA380. Manufactured by Jimenez Arms, now out of business, the pistol has been the subject of lawsuits, reports of faulty safeties, and even accidental discharges. It's plagued with design flaws and subpar materials, making it more of a liability than a weapon. Budget guns can be great, but this one's just dangerous. 13. Mossberg 715T AR-15 lookalike. From a distance, the Mossberg 715T looks like a budget-friendly AR-15, but don't let the looks fool you. It's built around a 702 Plinkster with a clamshell tactical shell slapped on. The internals are nowhere near true AR quality, the plastic feels cheap, and many users complain of feeding issues and general unreliability. It's like buying a muscle car body kit for a lawnmower. It might look fast, but it doesn't go. 14. Armalite AR-180B. The AR-180B had potential, a polymer hybrid design, lightweight, and intended as a modern alternative to the AR-15, but the execution fell short. The build felt cheap, parts were difficult to find, and the aftermarket community never embraced it. What could have been a cool niche rifle ended up being a forgotten side project with no real staying power. For something that carried the Armalite name, it certainly didn't carry the legacy. Some guns try to ride the wave of reputation, while others just fake it till they break. Whether it's poor materials, bad designs, or just straight-up impracticality, these firearms earn their spots on this list. Which one disappointed you the most, or maybe made you laugh out loud when you tried it? Stay tuned, we've still got more to cover and you don't want to miss the final few. 15. Rossi RS-22. At first glance, the Rossi RS-22 seems like a solid budget .22 rifle. It's lightweight, has a decent feel, and compares to the classic Marlin Model 60. But dig a little deeper and the cracks start to show. Users report inconsistent accuracy, issues with feeding, and magazines that don't always seat right. It might do okay for a backyard plinker or a first-timer, but anyone expecting a Marlin-level performance will be disappointed. It's a reminder that budget sometimes just means you'll pay later. 16. Norinco 1911 clones. These 1911 clones from Norinco had a brief moment in the US market before being banned from import. Some folks swear by them, especially after a good gunsmith gives them a tune-up. But others found out the hard way just how sketchy these pistols could be. The metallurgy is questionable, machining is rough, and tolerances vary wildly between units. You might get one that runs like a dream, or one that chews through parts faster than you can shoot. It's like flipping a coin, but instead of heads or tails, it's reliable or regretful. 17. Intratec Tech DC-9, aka the Tech 9. It is one of the most infamous guns ever made, and not in a good way. The Tech 9 looks aggressive, feels like a movie prop, and has become a symbol in pop culture for all the wrong reasons. But when it comes to actual performance, it's a nightmare. These pistols are notoriously unreliable, jam constantly, and are incredibly difficult to clean and maintain. Even those who own them for novelty purposes admit that you spend more time resolving issues than shooting. Its fame has nothing to do with function. It's all flash, no fire. A gun is only as good as its reliability, and these 17 failed to deliver when it mattered most. Whether it's bad design, poor materials, or just plain awful performance, these firearms have become cautionary tales in the gun world. So, if you're shopping around, consider this your heads up. Would you ever own one of these? Or do you think some of them get a bad rap? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to hit that like button if you found this list helpful.